Joined by Michael Avenatti, attorney for Stormy Daniels, and Kimberly Whaley, former assistant U.S. attorney and law professor. Michael, thank you for coming on. I think you have a good political sense of this whole thing about your client, Stormy Daniels, and what Michael Cohen would be up to. Do you think Michael Cohen is now, based upon these recordings, now that he has all these recordings in hand as evidence to any case he wants to make, he has a lot of support going into court, a lot of exhibits, that he's in a very strong position now to negotiate his freedom?
You know, Chris, I think he may be, but I think that this information potentially could be devalued with each passing day. And that's why I think that if Michael Cohen's going to do the right thing, he needs to do it very, very quickly and come forward with what he has, not only with federal prosecutors, but also with the American people. You know, you've seen a progression over the last few weeks. Michael Cohen trying to paint himself as a patriot, as a guy that loves his country. But I think he's trying to have it both ways. I think he's still holding out hope, Chris, that Donald Trump is going to appear in the middle of this dark forest and lead him out to salvation. And if there's one thing we know about this president, it is that he has loyalty for no one or to no one. So I think that Michael Cohen is kidding himself.
How long can he stretch it out before he has to make it? What's his shot clock in basketball terms? When does he have to decide, I trust Trump for a pardon, or I'm taking my chances with Mueller? When's he have to make that call?
Well, I think he has to make it pretty quickly, Chris. And you know, here's something to think about. If Bob Mueller ultimately concludes that a sitting president cannot be indicted, and I think he may very well conclude that, then what is the value of the information that Michael Cohen has on the president? It's not very high. So the longer that Michael Cohen waits to use this information to his own benefit, the greater chance he runs that it's going to be devalued to zero.
Well, on Friday, that's just a few days ago, Rudy Giuliani called the tapes powerful exculpatory evidence for the president. However, his team has not released any recordings or transcripts to back up that statement. Today, in response to reports that there were at least 12 other audio recordings, Lanny Davis, Clinton ally, and Cohen's new lawyer, tweeted, latest news about Michael Cohen's tapes of conversations are being released by Donald Trump and his legal team, who own and waive the privilege. Will Rudy Giuliani call these tapes exculpatory again? As I noted before, the tapes will speak for themselves. Spin can't change facts. Let's talk about facts. If you have a tape there of the now president talking to his lawyer fixer, Michael Cohen, about making payoffs to silence a person who has had a relationship or said they had a relationship with him, would that be, I think that's powerful information. I think if the people see it's on the record now that this all happened, it isn't just his enemies talking, it'll have a lot of influence on his life, his whatever, his way he lives,
sure.
It's how we think of him. And I'm just wondering what the legal situation is of these tapes.
So under New York law,
what law do they show that he broke?
Well, under New York law, it doesn't sound like he broke anything because only one person has to consent to a taping.
No, I'm talking about paying off somebody not to publish something. So you're basically using your power to kill a story. Is that legal?
Well, under the campaign finance laws, anything of value that's exchanged for the campaign that would help the candidate is considered something that needs to be disclosed.
So the newspaper company ownership is really kicking in some cash.
It's like a loan. So if they said, listen, we'll pay her so you don't have to pay her, and that helped the campaign and that it sort of put down some bad information that would have hurt Trump, then sure, that should have been disclosed.
Michael, talk about that law there, because I'm curious how you get to the perpetrators of this deal, this conspiracy to silence, well, Trump's girlfriends, if you will, women with whom he's had relations, kind of keep that out of the press and using money and friends to do it. Where's the legal, who's exposed here?
Well, I think ultimately the president could be exposed as well as Michael Cohen. If on these tapes, for instance, Chris, they had discussions about the flow of the money and how these payments were going to be made, and the fact that they were going to be made in such a way where it could not be traced back to Donald Trump, but in essence it was Donald Trump's money or other people were carrying out these payments at his request, that could be a significant and serious campaign finance violation as it relates to violating the amount that can be contributed, as well as, you know, they always say follow the money. It could also pose a problem as it relates to money laundering and bank fraud if, in fact, they were discussing how to shield these payments from regulators and others.
Well, what do you think's going to happen? You've teased me here, Michael. You're pretty good at this, but you've teased me. You think that Mueller will come to the conclusion that under the Constitution he cannot indict a sitting president. So he may decide to defer the charges for later. Is that feasible? Could he say, I think he's committed crimes here. They may be high crimes, but I can't act on them because the Constitution prevents me from indicting. What would happen if he decided that? Would he drop the charges?
Well, he could defer them. You know, what I believe is going to happen based on, you know, my understanding of Bob Mueller, who's, you know, one heck of an attorney and very by-the-book kind of guy. I think that ultimately he's going to conclude. It's a different conclusion that I would come to. I would go ahead and charge him and make the Supreme Court overrule me, but that's just me. But I think he's going to conclude that you can't indict a sitting president. I think he's going to defer the charges. He's going to issue a very detailed report, and he's going to leave it up to Congress to potentially impeach the president or to the electorate to throw him out of office in 2020.
So going back to Rudy's right not letting the president testify.
Well,
if he can't be indicted, you know, somebody once said to me years ago in Philadelphia, if you're not running for re-election, take the fifth to somebody. So I'm just wondering, I wonder whether you shouldn't just, in effect, if you're the president, take the fifth. If you can't be indicted, what do you got to lose? Well,
there's political ramifications here, or there's legal ones, and the political process isn't holding him accountable. The legal process, I agree with Michael that I think Bob Mueller is going to follow the DOJ guidance, which says that you can't indict a sitting president.
So throw it to the House.
Although I do think there's some ambiguity in the most recent statement on that, and that could you actually indict him and then hold the trial for after he was finished being a president, because then that would toll the statute of limitations.
Yeah, but it still goes to the House.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really what boils down to, and the fact the American public doesn't seem to care is a problem.
Two facts: the Democrats look like they're going to win the House at least narrowly, maybe by more, and they'll have the power of subpoena. It's going to be interesting. Adam Schiff and the rest will have the power of subpoena. You know, and I think things are going to be happening. Jerry Nadler as well, chairman of the House Judiciary Committee as of next January. The whole world's going to shift 180 come January if the Democrats squeak back into power.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.